Good evening, everyone, and welcome to MRC. Take two. We had a red flag in the first qualifying session because of a cockpit camera incident for the drivers. So we're going to have another crack at it for the final round of the Xtreme tier in F124 here in MRC. And as I mentioned before, it should be a very exciting race tonight with a championship decider taking place. Chris Bailey and Armar Red are the two drivers still in contention for the championship. We'll go through shortly what the situation is there and what both of the drivers need if they do want to win the championship. But, well, one thing that's changed straight away is the weather. It was quite dark and gloomy in the first trial run that we had, but it looks like beautiful blue skies now in Zandvoort in the Netherlands. My name's Nev. Once again, I'll be leading you through the race this evening alongside, once again, Mark Hodgson. So very good evening to you, Mark, for the second time.
Good evening again. Yeah, just a slight little error, but luckily we got back running again and with very little delay, which is great to do. A little bit behind schedule this evening, but yeah, as you say, big title decider on our hands, and yeah, this is going to go down to the wire. This is really exciting between Armour and Chris, who have both been absolutely on their A game all season long, and I know Chris is desperate to get a title to his name.
Yeah, he's been trying for a very long time in MRC to get that monkey off of his back and take his first title, and it has evaded him for a very long time. But now he is the championship leader, and that doesn't necessarily make things any easier for him, but it does mean that he doesn't have to win his race to take a championship. He could almost try to Alain Prost it to an extent and just do what he needs to get the job done. But that's no mean feat, obviously, because he's up against some of the best drivers in his tier one, and also some of the top guys from tier two, including Armar Red, of course, who is pretty much on pace with some of the tier one guys at this point. So it's going to be a cracker.
Absolutely, and as you said there, Armour, you said he's on pace with a lot of the Tier 1. He has reserved quite a lot this season in Tier 1, and I think he's actually moved up early into that tier, if I remember rightly. I just seem to see him quite a lot in every race, and he is usually ahead. It's rare that I'm sort of battling with him, but he is definitely really strong and come on massively leaps and bounds in the last season or so, and absolutely deserves to be there. 110%. He really does deserve it. And yeah, and, I mean, Chris struggled a little bit on Monday in Tier 1 round here. I don't know if he got caught up in an incident, and I remember he had a bit of damage, which, of course, around here, it's a long pit lane. It's a slow speed limiter in this pit lane, and it can cost a huge amount of time, and I think that's what got Chris unstuck. So pardon me. He's got a lot riding on this, Chris, and as you say, he has been trying a long time for a title. He was beaten, I think, by something like 400ths of a second a few seasons ago, especially to a title by Xavier, and yeah, I don't think he's quite sort of got over that one as well. And he's definitely got the bit between his teeth, and he is itching, absolutely itching. He is really focused on getting this done.
And it looks like he's on a two-lap attempt at setting a fast time on the mediums at the moment, maybe taking 2 laps to get the heat into those tyres. He's currently sitting in P5, over a second off the time that Lou is currently setting the pace with on a 109.3. So we'll just see what Chris does here as he comes. No, he's going to box and go for the softs.
I thought he might have gone again there, but he didn't actually save some fuel. But interestingly, Armour's, I know we've got obviously like 12 of the drivers here this evening, but and Nels as well, so it'll be an extra driver as well now. Nels has joined us, which is great. Don't know if he'll be able to take part in qualifying, but he will in the race. But we've still got a lot of drivers here, and I know we keep going back to this championship decider, but C8 has been quick round here earlier in the week. He was really good battles in Tier 2 for sort of, there was a big battle for second in the championship there in Tier 2, and it was a fantastic end to that race, absolute nail-biting stuff, and he's shown it there with a 9.3, which isn't far off what we saw in Tier 1 qualifying as well. I mean, I said on stream on Monday evening, I can't do a 109.3 on time trial, and he's beaten that, and he kept beating it throughout the qualifying session, each run he had on Monday evening, and yeah, he's definitely a strong driver to watch this evening for C8, and then of course Xavier up there as well had a very, very good race on Monday, and yeah, so there's a lot still to play out as well, not just the championship battle.
Yeah, and I mean, for C8 to be quicker than Xavier, who's just been absolutely rapid on F124 pretty much all year, that's no mean feat, even if it is just a banker lap. So that's a very promising start to the session for him. We've just
Yeah, I
seen
think he
Ant.
did something like a 9.5, I think, on as a banker on Monday, and then he did a 9.4 and a 9.3 or a 9.2, I think, on Monday evening. So yeah, he was brilliant on Monday. His qualifying was just exceptional, and if everybody hasn't seen it yet, please do watch it. It was just an enthralling race through the pit stop strategies. The way the drivers up there were just battling one another, and it came down to basically there were three drivers at the end crossed the line within a tenth and a half of each other to take the win. It was that good. So if you haven't watched it yet, folks, please do it. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow, and hopefully a precursor for more of the same this evening. Here comes Xavier on another lap, and he slots himself into second, improved by a couple of tenths there, but he's just behind Jules, who set the fastest lap a few
Yeah,
moments
what a lap.
ago in the McLaren.
Yeah, on the first lap as well. That's a very, very good lap from Jules. Very quick indeed.
Do you think we'll get down into the 108s?
If they're doing that now, potentially yes. I think we could. We might see a 109 dead. We might see a 108.9. I think we'll get to about that point. I really do. Great to know. Of course, all these drivers have raced it on Monday evening. Some of them raced it earlier this evening, so they kind of got their eye in quite well. So, on a Monday night we've had the practice sessions, but this is when you start getting right through qualifying, where you know where the grip is, you know how the tyres are going to react, and where your braking points exactly are. And a setup now is as finely tuned as you're going to be able to get it. So this is pretty much where we see everybody almost at an even keel now, on a level playing field, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning as well, actually, that this is the last league race that there was going to be on F124 in MRC, I believe, because this is the final season finale of out of all the tiers. So this is the last chance for all of these guys really to drive in absolute anger on this game, or in this league at least. So yeah, there's certainly, you'd imagine, a bit of an extra incentive from that perspective as well to try and set an absolutely blistering final lap.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It is exactly, yeah. So this is it. This is where you leave it all on the table now, don't you? You give it everything. And I know there's been a lot of negative comments about F124, and some people are a bit more vocal with their negativity than others. You and I sort of, we say it as it is, but we don't necessarily shout about the negativity. That's not who we are as people. But it's not been the most enjoyable game. A lot of people will say that's a common consensus. But there's a lot of good things coming, I believe, in 25, and this is where people are really giving it their all now. Say goodbye to F124 and then give it their all when the new game comes in about 2 and a bit weeks' time. Yeah, about 2 weeks' time, actually.
Whoa, C8 Lou has just put himself even closer to a 109 dead and back up to provisional pole. He's still building on that pace that he's been showing since Monday night, so not necessarily someone I personally expected to see right up there at the sharp end tonight, but he's certainly proving me wrong. And this could prove to be a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons for Chris as well, to have an extra challenger up there with the likes of Saviour and Jules and Ant that we're so used to seeing. As Chris, we just saw him put himself into P5, and he's about 3-4 tenths off the pace at the moment, which is a bit concerning, but he has got still time to get back in the pits and have another go.
Yeah, that's it. To be fair, I was looking at Chris. I just saw him cross the line with that 9.5 as C8, I think, crossed just ahead of him on that 9.1. And yeah, that was. These lap times are unbelievable, let's be honest. And it's surprising. I mean, I know, and we all know that we think Ant's has a lot more in the bag. We know what he's like. I think Armour's probably got a bit more in the bag, who's 2 and a bit tenths up at the moment through the first sector. I think there's a few more. Baby Hornet, I think, has got a bit more. So does Ryan as well. It's going to be good to see what people like Dan can do. Vitalso didn't do too badly as well on Monday night. So Vitalso's probably got, I think, a little bit more in the tank as well. So I think the gap between C8 and where, let's say, Armour is now, about a second, isn't quite representative as yet. I think the lap times are going to come tumbling as Armour does improve a slight amount, so didn't do the best of middle and last sectors there, but does take him ahead of Ant.
Yeah, so Ant a couple of tenths up in sector 1 by the looks of things, and he'll be at the second sector marker point any moment now, so we'll see how he's doing on his lap. About 3 tenths. So he might slot in just behind Chris on the third row provisionally, with about 6 minutes to go here in the session, and still time for the track to rubber in a bit more and these times to come down a little bit further, and to get our grid for the final time in F124 in MRC. And yeah, there goes Ant into P6. Saviour is just starting another lap in the Red Bull, so we'll keep an eye on him as well, because he surely must fancy his chances.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It's a double run from Saviour. This is third lap on those tyres, so he's done his warm up, a fast lap, a cool down, and another fast lap, and so it's an interesting tactic to try that. I wouldn't have thought the softs could potentially do it, but it's about on par with his first time, so it shows the drop off isn't quite there. We have seen the strategies really in the mix throughout this week, and Saviour, big kick through the second last corner. I'd be surprised if he continues now. He has bailed now because he got a big kick over, so he did well to not drop it, to be honest. But yeah, the soft tyres, a lot of people use them as a race tyre. Chris has actually got wing damage. He's left the pits and maybe hit the wall slightly. He's actually lost a front end plate on his outlap, so this will be a lap where I think you'll go back into the pits and sort of unnecessary extra little bit of wear on those soft tyres.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily for him, he's still got time to make a pit stop and get back out for another run. But this is just the kind of drama that you don't need when you're gunning for a championship. As Lorpe gets himself onto the curb, and a one-way ticket to the barrier from there. So that's put an end to his lap there. And just as I say that, Baby Hornet puts himself ahead of Lorpe on the grid with a 109.8. So that's a nice lap from the other Ferrari driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's, as you say, that's not what Chris needs. I don't know if he even feels it, because it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, he does. He's definitely pitting. But yeah, it's definitely not something Chris needs, as you say. Whether something maybe a little bit the nerves getting to him there, and just a rare lapse of judgment, or just not really paying 100% attention there, and lapse of concentration. You don't normally see that from Chris, but interestingly, we've got a few drivers on track. Everybody with fresh soft tyres now. This is going to be a crazy end to qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just say as well, when you are fighting for a championship, I have been in a championship fight before, but never actually won one. and it is very nerve-wracking, and you do start to get that strange sort of feeling like, you practice a lot for a race, and then you get out on the track and it feels like you've literally never driven a car before in your life almost. Everything suddenly feels very alien, and you overthink all of your inputs because the nerves are just so strong. So that's the kind of mental game that Chris has got to fight against as well. And you mentioned before, Mark, about how he's been denied a championship before in very, very disappointing circumstances with the close finish with Saviour. So maybe that will be in his mind as well. So he's got some demons to fight as well as the other drivers.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. And you said you've been in that situation as well. So have I. And you do end up. You said it's so difficult to relax and just race like every other race that you've done all season long. You do end up tensing up. You think so much more about the braking, about your throttle, then it's almost though you twitch a lot more. Which then, of course, has a knock-on effect in terms of your braking and your acceleration. And it's so difficult. And if you're in a battle with somebody, obviously that can actually help, because then that just takes over your thoughts. But if you're fighting someone that has been there and battled with you on track for a majority of the season, that then really hurts you more as well, because you're not just looking at the cars around you and thinking like, come on, let me through, I need these points more than you two almost. You're then looking at that driver as well, who's you're still fighting with or need to keep ahead of. And if you've got, let's say, 9 points, I think the gap is 9 points with Chris, allowed that time, might be a bit more. You're then trying to calculate and say, okay, I can let them have this position ahead of me and just stick with them. But then it doesn't always work out that way either, because you're so much trying to do that, then you end up in a bigger battle and with the other cars around you as well, and it just compounds itself, and it's such a difficult place to be in. One of the championships I won, it was at Brazil, and I can't remember who it was with now. It's going to really annoy me now, and it's going to be upsetting for the person I was fighting with the championship. And it was down to exactly that. We were fighting tooth and nail. There were drivers around us, and I was actually fighting for the race win, which I think I needed at that point to clinch the championship. And the driver I was fighting with, who was leading at the time, was nowhere near the championship. He'd missed half the season, and there were almost collisions. And it really upset me in that, because then I'm tense with that. I'm trying to find out where, I think it was Kaiser Soze actually, it was Steve that we were battling with, now I said it, and I was trying to find out where he was, who was between us, what he needed, what I needed as I'm coming through a few drivers and battling for the race win and potential championship as well. And it was such a tough race. It was horrible. It was really not fun at all, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up pretty well there. What just what more there is at stake, what more there is at play. And Saviour, last minute, puts himself onto pole position by 13 thousandths of a second. I don't know if Chris is on another lap. It looks like he might be, but he's not setting the timing screens alight.
No, I don't think he
down.
Is. Yeah, he did slightly improve on his last lap. Had a tiny bit of traffic, but had a few little lockups, a few little twitches as well. So wasn't the cleanest lap from him. I don't know if he's had a good last sector or not. He didn't. He did slightly improve his last sector, but yeah, and stuck ahead of him as well now.
Yeah, so down on the third row for Chris with his championship rival Armour Red right behind him as well.
He couldn't write it.
Yeah, he really couldn't. This is going to be juicy.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. We've got Mark Dennis and Simba's in the YouTube chat, so he's supporting Blowhole. Miss Bailey this evening, and Steve, it was Steve, yeah, he said he spun in an incident, funny enough, with Simba in turn 4 that race. Yeah, I do remember that, and you were fighting back through the field, Steve, and I was very, very nervous towards the end, because I think I could see you on my timing, and couldn't work out exactly what I needed in that, but that was a good championship, that one. That was a really good season.
So
But
there we
yeah,
are.
that was Saviour. Wow, where do you put that one from?
Yep. Saviour on pole for the season finale with C8 Lou alongside him, 13 thousandths of a second back. Uh, Less time than it takes to blink your eyes between first and second on the grid. And then behind them we have Jules in the McLaren Doris, Anthony and Chris on the third row, Armar in P7, followed by Red Car, Baby Hornet P9, Lopi P10, Vital in 11th, Nels P12, Dan P13, Triz in 14th, and at the back of the grid is BitW365 in the second McLaren. That is your grid for the season finale in Extreme Tier for MRC Season 16 on F1 2024. And let's see now what the weather is looking like for the race. We didn't have anyone in the chat actually suggesting what the weather might be, which usually means that it's going to be dry. And there you have it. We have got blue skies, a little bit of cloud potentially, but certainly a dry start to the race at the very least. We will have a 5-minute break now before the race gets underway, so the drivers can take a bit of a break, maybe think about what their strategy is going to be for the race. If it is going to be a dry race, Mark, what would you think is going to be the tyre strategy of choice?
Yeah, I mean, we did see a few people use the soft tyres in. I'm not sure about Tier 3. I haven't seen that one, unfortunately. I was elsewhere, otherwise engaged. But in Tier 1 and 2, there were a few people did use the soft tyres. And I think it was Sociopath, actually, was the Tier 2 champion. He took them quite a long way into the race, but some drivers were taking them around 12-ish laps, give or take, before switching to the hard tyres. Some people chose the conservative medium to hard strategy, but it's a difficult one of which one you would choose. I think the softs can be used as a bit of a race tyre. So can the mediums. I think the gap between the two, the deltas, weren't huge between the two tyres because of the heat difference, of course, and the wear difference. But the walls are very close around here. There's not a lot of runoff, and I think it was in Tier 2 that we had a safety car for somebody just losing a front wing and they didn't actually retire. They hit the wall and the safety car was called very quickly. So things like that can play into it with our safety cars, and it, I would probably try the soft tyres to start. That's not something I like to do, or usually do, but we could see a bit of a mix here, I think. And this, of course, as you said there, and Chris and Armour lined up next to each other on the grid. That's, I mean, what else do we need?
Yeah, exactly. It's worth mentioning that in terms of the standings, first off, the gap is 14 points between Chris and Armar. So Chris does have a bit of a cushion there, but certainly not a defining one if he gets himself involved in some sort of incidents and maybe doesn't finish the race. It's worth mentioning as well that the point system in Extreme is a little bit different to what it is in the other tiers where your finishing position purely defines your points. It's about where you finish relative to other drivers in your particular tier. So Chris Bailey is tier 1, and for the purposes of this championship, Armour Red is tier 2. So if Armour Red finishes first out of the tier 2 boys, he would collect 25 points. And same for Chris. If he is first out of the tier 1 boys, he would collect 25 points, and so on from there. So you could have something like, I don't know, you could have Armar winning the race from Chris, and they would both collect 25 points in that scenario. But we'll keep an eye on that as the race unfolds and try to keep everyone as informed as possible about who is winning the championship at any one time, because it can get a bit confusing. But yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, there was. I'm trying to find where it is. Ah, there we go. Chris needs P4 or higher if Armour wins for Tier 2. If Armour doesn't win Tier 2, which he's got at this moment in time, Doris and C8 currently ahead of him, and C8 was very quick on Monday, and so was Doris, funny enough, as well. They were both really, really quick. Then Chris just needs to finish, and if Armour scores less than 14 points, Chris wins the championship there. So still a few connotations there, and we've got to kind of work out who's what tier, which is great at the mix, but it's not easy for us.
No, absolutely not. We'll have to do some quick mental maths.
Yeah.
Cue the meme of I've forgotten the name of the actor, but from The Hangover, with all the equations flashing across the screen.
Yes.
That'll be
Zach,
us.
Oh, somebody. I can never pronounce his surname, but Zach, someone. Yeah.
Yes.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But yep, we're on the formation lap now, and a split of softs and mediums, as you were sort of hinting at that before, Mark. And interestingly, Chris has gone for the mediums and Armour has gone for the softs, so there might be an opportunity quite early on for Armour Red to get himself in front of his championship rival.
Yeah, and interesting in that one as well is that the people that, now that we know the connotations of the tiers, the two drivers that Armour would technically be battling with most, Doris and C8, they were also on the soft tyres. So that kind of nullifies that a little bit as well, and this is where we get the best racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the drivers are formed up on the grid, so the lights will come on for the final time in Season 16 of Xtreme Tier. It's lights out and away we go. Let's go on board because the camera angle was absolutely atrocious, but there's contact already, I think, between the McLaren of Jules and C8 going into turn 1, and Doris has actually got in front of his teammate. Further back, Chris has made up a spot. Armour Red has not had a good start. He has dropped down to P8 and he's actually being ghosted through at the moment by, I think that's Lorpy. There's a Ferrari of Baby Hornet there as well, and I think there's been a couple of spins at the back. It's both Hasses that have gone off towards the back of the grid. Jules has now got himself ahead of Lou into P3, so yeah, not a good start for Lou, and more importantly, not a good start for Armour.
Yeah, I don't know which bit to watch though of that. The initial getaway, C8 he looked like he was okay, and then just didn't go anywhere. I don't know if he got a lot of wheel spin in the second phase, and Doris got an absolute monster start from behind him, and was almost challenging Saviour into turn 1. So he had an incredible start. So did Jules. Chris got past Ant, which is very important for him. But yeah, Armour was a strange one. There was a lot of wheel banging. Baby Hornet was in there as well. Loppy was in there. Red Car was in there. I think Red Car was just make the most of it and go, okay, you battle, I'll come through, which Ryan's very good at. Baby Hornet a little bit unfortunate in that one as well. And yeah, you're right. Armour was ghosted a long time, and Loppy was the driver that went through into Armour. I don't know if he caused the ghosting. I'm not 100%, but yeah, he was. Twitter's out of the session already. Not sure why, but what happened there. But yeah, that's caused Armour, and I think he actually had to back out so that he could unghost himself and continue racing. So yeah, Armour big loser on that opening lap.
Yeah, and he's got to play the long game now because he's, like we said, lost a few places, and it's going to be very difficult to overtake, at least in the early stages, because he's got Lorpy, Red Car, and then Anthony all pretty close together, so it's DRS train territory for him, and he's got Baby Hornet for company close behind as well. So long way to go, but it's been a better start for Chris than it has for Armour, that is for sure. Jules has also had a storming first few laps here. He's just set the fastest lap right behind Saviour. He got past Doris a lap ago, and Red Car has also moved up to P6 ahead of Anthony.
Yeah, that one almost looks strategic as well. I was looking at that with the gap I knew Ant was just out of the 1 second window there, and down the pit straight he sort of moved over and allowed Ryan to come through. Quicker tyres on Ryan's car, and yeah, just sort of playing the team game a little bit there was Ant. It was interesting. I wonder what he was going to do with Chris. Of course, close friends, they were teammates for a few seasons, so I wondered how that was potentially going to play itself out, both on the medium tyres. But yeah, it decided to let Ryan go on his way.
Yeah, and I mean, he's far enough back from Chris at the moment. Chris hasn't got anyone too close to him, at least not attacking him from behind. He's within DRS of Lou at the moment in the RB, so he will be trying to keep himself within that gap just to have DRS and get dragged along a bit in these early laps when he will be on the slower tyre. It'll take a few laps before the medium becomes quicker than the soft, so he's just got to hang on in there for the time being. We've got Nels in the pits for Williams. I assume that might be a wing damage. He's retired as well.
I don't know. That doesn't have any damage on that car, so a bit disappointing to see those two retire this early. So I don't know if they're just testing out. I think Nels mentioned something about new equipment that he was having problems with, actually, or one of them was. So he was having a few faulty issues. So I don't know if that's to play a part in it. Not sure. To be fair, Nels usually jumps into the YouTube and is a good fan, so I'm sure we'll hear what he's got to say very soon. It's like having an off-track interview when Nels jumps in. To be honest, it's quite good.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe he wants to jump in the party even, and we'll get the live reaction. But yeah, it's a shame to see the two guys dropping out early. Lou has actually dropped back here from the front three, and he's letting Chris go actually into P4 as well. And now we've got a battle for the lead between Jules and Saviour. I think Jules was attacking with DRS. He's got the inside line now for the banked left-handers. There's a bit of contact as well, and they're still going side by side. I think Saviour has got himself back through into first place, but that was pretty spicy between the two of them there.
Yeah, it really was. I saw Jules lining it up a little bit earlier in the lap, and I kind of left it, and like you say, Lou didn't really fight Chris too hard, but that gap now to the top three, Chris has got 2 seconds to find somehow, and we've seen on this track the way that the DRS is positioned. 2 seconds can easily suddenly become 2.5, and then 3 seconds. It's very difficult when you've got even just a small DRS train ahead, like we have now. That Chris could find it difficult, but early days. I'll tell you what, Doris is looking racy as well on the back of Jules.
He is, and he's going to have the biggest slipstream coming down this straight, although actually it looks like Jules might be deploying because he really pulled away quite significantly there. He's gone for the switchback on Saviour. Saviour having to defend very hard in the early stages to hold on to his lead, but doing a nice job of that so far as we go into lap 6. And yeah, Chris 2.2 seconds adrift as it stands. Sort of kept that gap steady in the last lap or so. Now Baby Hornet is going past Armour Red for P9, chops across the front wing of the Alpine as they come into the fast right-hander there. Things really not panning out well for Armour at the moment, but long way to go.
Yeah, and crucial for Armour is Red Car Rambo is also a tier 2. I think he was reserved, but he's still a tier 2 as well. So that's really not working well for Armour at this stage. But we have seen that the undercut can work extremely well. I think that's Vitalso. It was Vitalso's gone round, lost a front wing. It's a safety car.
Yeah, as you said, a safety car can happen just from losing a front wing, and
everybody in.
Exactly what's happened. And yeah, Chris as well.
That's hurt Chris. Starting on the mediums, that'll hurt Chris a lot. But now puts everyone on pretty much the same strategy as well.
Yeah, and Baby Hornet has carried on. In fact, he's about the only one who has chosen to do that. It's pretty much everyone on the hards except for Jules. Armour Red is another one. he's going to risk it for the biscuit at this point. He's not had the best start, so he wants to have the quicker rubber. And do you think, can he get those mediums to the end from lap 7?
I don't think so. I think the hards may be able to take it there. It'll be hard work to get the hards to the end, but mediums, I don't think he will. Personally, I mean, I've seen stranger things this week around the 2 races, well, 3 races technically that we've had. So with some of these drivers, anything's possible. So, but I probably wouldn't suspect it could.
Yeah,
I expect another strategy. I expect another round of pit stops before the end, especially if we have another safety car. But I think the hards can pretty much go to the end. I think they can.
Okay, so Armar's probably hoping for another safety car then to make this work. The other problem really is that because nearly everyone pitted, it's not the order hasn't really shifted, except for of course Baby Hornet now being up at the front, but behind him things have stayed pretty constant, which means that Armor Red has still got a lot of work to do, but he will have a tyre advantage at least on the guys he needs to have a tyre advantage on anyway, the likes of Lou and Rambo and Doris.
Yeah, Lou lost out because Doris was ahead of him in the double stack, and so did Ant. I was keeping my eye on it when everyone started diving in to see. So I know Red Car's now made it past Lou after Chris had made his way through, and Armour's got through on Ant as well. Actually, Ant's lost a couple of places now. He's lost about 3 or 4 spots because of the double stack, because he was quite close to Red Car when the safety car came out. So they're the 2 sort of losers out of all this, and that's potentially another reason why Baby Hornet decided to stay out, maybe playing the teammate game as well. But yeah, it's who knows? It's just another chapter to add to this story, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as we've got Doris just drove through the gravel on the straight for some reason, maybe just took us off the ball for a moment there. But yeah, this is another way to just rack up the tension a bit more for Chris and for Armar to have a sort of couple of laps breather, knowing what's to come, more intensity, more close action. And the other thing, of course, is that if you're on the hards, you've got that period after the restart where you're trying to build up the temperature, and it's going to feel pretty horrible when the hards are cold and you're building up that temperature. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that was quite a late call. A very quick call for the safety car to come in there. So Vitalso had caught the trainer just enough for it to be called to come in, and yeah, this is it now, isn't it? This is where the tension really builds. Yeah,
and Baby Hornet backing up the pack tremendously here. Everyone is so close together, which again, prime breeding ground for contact and accidents, but he's dropped the hammer now, and Jules has got a pretty good launch on the back of Saviour, and we've also got Doris with Chris close up behind, but there's not going to be any moves, I don't think, into the first corner. Have we got Lou? Rambo with a bit of a twitch, and that's going to allow Lou up into 6th place, so he's made up one of the places that he lost. And Baby Hornet has gone. And then there was an Aston Martin as well. That was Lorpy. He's lost at least an end plate, and that's going to be a virtual safety car. That's a complete front wing.
Yeah. Wow. And I don't know what happened. I was too busy looking through at Armour, to be honest, and see what he was doing. That's horrible for Baby Hornet. Luckily, no damage, so he maybe just lost it and managed to keep it out the wall. Or just that much of a slide that he caught it, but it was that slow, if that makes sense, that he's on the left-hand side. Unlucky for Loppy. So especially after pitting under the first safety car, he's having to go back in again. But to be fair, I think a saving grace for a lot of these drivers, not Loppy, unfortunately, is a virtual and not another full safety car.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a case of waiting now for when we get back to green for all of these guys. And Xavier looks like he might be going. Well, I think we're still waiting on the green flag. Once again, Baby Hornet in the pits. That's just the worst for him, having made that call to stay out and then having that spin. It is quite a difficult traction zone coming out of the banked corner that we see Xavier in now. I feel like that's been a feature of this track on the F1 games as we go back to green flag racing again.
Yeah, you're right there, absolutely. And I tell you what, Doris got a fantastic restart. Almost had a look at Jules through turn 7 banking. Didn't quite make it happen. But yeah, you're right, absolutely. That traction shot is so easy. You feel you've got the traction. You feel, yep, I can put the hammer down. And then there's sort of an extra ridge, if you like. There's that extra bit.
Yeah.
And if you're not quite straight or just taking a different line slightly, yeah, you're right, it can just really kick the rear out. And I think that's what happened, and Baby Hornet got caught out slightly there, and so did Loppy in return.
Yeah, it can absolutely just spit you out right at the last minute, which is just an absolute killer. But we are back to green flag racing. It's lap 10, just about to start lap 11. And we're just riding on board with Armor Red, who's going to easily go past Red Car for P6. And at the same time, Jules goes ahead of Xavier for first place on track. And a pretty close group of cars here, 1 to 5, all the way down to Lou. And then Armor in the Alpine trying to catch up to this group, which is where he needs to be with Lou and Doris. That he's fighting against in his tier.
Yeah, and I think with the well, he's done it, to be fair. He's well within now the 1 second already. And just because everybody at this moment in time still warming tyres, those hard compound not quite where they need them to be yet, not giving the full grip, and the medium's just giving that little bit more at this point. I think, yeah, it wasn't hard for him to do that. And of course, with everybody in the DRS train reacting to each other with the dirty air and the braking points and things, that's just allowed Armour to now join the back of that, crucially just behind Chris, or 2 places behind I should say, and third in his tier at the moment.
Yeah, how well has this worked out for us? Because we've got a situation now where the top group has got both championship protagonists in it, and well, they're both effectively in P3 as it stands. So yeah, there's plenty for them both to fight for here. Looked for a moment like Jules might be pulling away from Xavier. Xavier's just got that gap down back under a second, so he's clinging on at the moment to Jules in the McLaren, who's looking very fast at the moment on the medium tyres, as you might expect.
Yeah, and clean air, more importantly, for Jules. So he's using that in this middle sector to really try to push on. And we've seen numerous times that if you're outside of that magic 1 second, it is so powerful. And that's something Xavier himself cannot afford to do. And interestingly, the detection line is just at the exit of this turn 12, and he is 2/10 outside of the DRS. So he is going to potentially be very vulnerable to Doris coming down the start-finish straight of Xavier. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we're just riding on board with Doris, and the closing speed is so great. But, well, Doris thought about making a lunge into turn 1, but that straight just wasn't quite long enough for him to get close enough to that Red Bull. And
yeah, smart driving
station
as well from Doris. He knows he's not in that tier. I know how good a racer he is, but he's not in the tier. He wasn't going to try and do anything rash, anything silly there against Xavier. So, yeah, good, clever driving again from Doris.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually. I've noticed in the last few races in Xtreme that Doris and Lou, both in the RBs, they've worked pretty well together as teammates, and with the pace that they obviously have as well. It's a shame that they aren't closer to the championship fight. I'm not actually sure where they both are in the standings. I might just check that very quickly. Doris is in 8th place. I think he missed the first few rounds, which would explain it. And actually, Lou, similar story. He's missed quite a lot of the races this year, but they've both been very competitive when they've raced.
Absolutely, yeah, and, in their team as well, being right up there, and I think it's the same story for their tiers as well, because Sociopath had a good lead, a good margin, that he could pretty much have cruised the last sort of 4 rounds and still won the championship, which he has done. He won it with a good at least a round to spare, and then sort of he could take his foot off the gas a little bit, and yeah, so. But they've definitely shown that if they'd been there all season, you know, Armour wouldn't have had it all his own way, and now there was Sociopath in the tiers as well.
We've got Mark Dennison, that is, in the chat saying that nothing against Armour, but I do really want Chris to win this. He's come so close so many times. I commentated that race where he lost by 0.01. Oh, so that must have been excruciating to commentate on as well. And in fact, I've had a race like that where you commentating on a season finale where someone loses a championship in really sort of gut-wrenching circumstances, and yeah, your heart really does go out to them when it happens. As we've got Doris having
that was
another
good
look.
defence from Saviour, and very fair. Chris just sort of wanting to have a go himself, but playing the smart game, doing what he has to do and doing what he needs to do at this point. But yeah, I've not commentated on a race like that. I don't think, after so many years about 4 years of commentating now, and we have three seasons per game cycle plus however many tiers we have at this current moment. I'm not going to lie, I can't remember half my own races, so I've got no chance on championships. I'll tell you what, Doris is getting very snaky. I've seen it a few times, the rear of that V-car getting a little bit out of control, and that's going to... It's only going to keep Chris nervous, because the last thing he wants is Doris to have a big moment and a big slide, Chris to be caught into it, because there's nowhere he can go trying to preempt where the car's going to end up ahead of him, and the car not to ghost, and then they cause him damage, cause him to drop position. That's not what Chris needs. So Chris kind of giving the rear end of Doris's car just a little bit of respect, but Doris this time is going to have a look.
Forcing them both wide, and there might have been a bit of contact there as well. Banging wheels through this opening sector, but once again Saviour with the defence, and was good enough to keep Doris behind him. Saviour really displaying his skills here of defending. We know how good he is, we know how fast he is, but this is just another side to his ability, his repertoire that we're seeing at the moment, to be holding off Doris.
Yeah, and it's allowing Jules on the medium tyres to create a gap and to scamper off into the distance. Interestingly, with this battle, of course, now C8, Armour and Chris cannot do anything about this. They can't really make a move through at this moment in time unless they really try to force something, which they're all very clever, very intelligent racers, so that's not what they're going to do. It's not how they race. But they're not slowed up. Jules has managed to scamper off to 3 seconds, but interestingly, the Mercedes behind Anton and Redcar, they haven't been able to close up through all this. So again, we said about being in slipstreams, it's important. Whoa, what's happening here?
Oh, did we just... I think Lou had a little bit of a look on the inside of Chris. I don't know if that was a bit of a last-minute send, but Chris looked like he ran a bit wide to just make sure that he gave the RB enough room. But that's not what Chris wants. To saying about the things he doesn't want to be seeing in front of him. He doesn't want to be seeing that in his rear mirror either.
No, it doesn't. But I'll tell you one thing. I think if we look at the way the championship, as you mentioned, the points differences, Chris, with Doris getting through on Saviour, that is a car out of the way. We said, of course, if you're in the slipstream, you're in the dirty air of each other, it does cancel each other out a little bit. You can't really do a lot. But at this point, Saviour is now directly ahead of Chris. That second place in the Tier 1 side is right in front of him. There is not a car in the way. So this might help Chris and give him a bit more impetus. Although Saviour out the final corner, he's got a heck of a drive.
Yeah, and that's easily back up into P2. no squabbling into the braking zone on that occasion for him. So once again, there is a tier 2 driver in between Chris and Xavier. And we've mentioned a couple of times as well the fact that it was Xavier Chris was battling against the last time he had that close championship call. So it's all kind of the memories of that are right there in front of Chris as well. But we're at the halfway mark in this season finale, lap 18 out of 36, and it's just kind of simmering away at the moment. There's not a huge amount going on in this front group. Everyone, for the most part, holding station, except for Xavier and Doris swapping places. But it's really just a question of holding your nerve at this point and trying to just tick off the laps.
Yeah, it really is. And looking at the chat as well, we've got Steve and Simba in there, and reminiscing Simba about some of the times he used to be commentary for MRC, and yeah, Steve saying that Bailey's sort of loving the battle ahead. I think he kind of is, but at the same time, I think he just sort of wants to keep it neat and not to hold him up or cause any kind of potential. Oh, see, he got very twitchy outside after the end of the hairpin, but he doesn't want any sort of unexpected contact that means he has to take avoiding action and slam the brakes on, especially some of these high-speed corners and sequences. So he sort of, I think at this point, whoa, as Doris has gone very, very wide.
Yeah, and that's allowed Chris through. It's allowed Doris's teammate C8 through as well. Crucially, Armour Red is the one who's not been able to capitalise from that. It didn't really make any difference to Chris in terms of his position, but it's one less car for him to worry about, I suppose. I don't know if you saw what caused that from Doris there, Mark.
Not quite. No, I was sort of on board with the C8, so I saw a car off. Didn't realise which blue car it was at first, but what it's done, I don't know if he was far enough ahead so Chris wouldn't have necessarily had to take avoiding action or ease off or anything like that, and the drivers behind. As you mentioned, crucially, Doris came on ahead of Armour Red, so crucially for the Tier 2 side of things, and crucially for Chris. But it means that Chris is just hovering outside that crucial 1 second window and really has to work hard in this opening stage of the lap to get that window back to him to get the DRS so he can defend against technically the Tier 2 drivers behind him now.
Yeah, and we've just had a bit of a view of Doris from the back of C8's car, and he's looking a little bit ragged at the moment, which might explain the mistake he made before, and he might just be a little bit riled up at the moment. And you can see Armour in the background as well, just kind of sitting there at the moment. He's not really looking particularly aggressive, and Doris actually got a really good run out of the penultimate corner onto the banked curb now, where we can see C8's got his rear wing open, but here comes Doris down into turn 1. Lou leaves the space, his teammates alongside him now as they come out of that turn, and C8 does hold on to P4 for now.
I've got Monday night deja vu, to be honest. This is pretty much what happened for most of the race in Tier 2 on Monday evening. So they've got practice, so we say, between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Armour still there on 14 lap old mediums at this point, which is the same for Jules, who has that lead out front. It's just under 3 seconds now, but it might start to come down as the mediums continue to wear. And Armour, it's probably a situation where Armour doesn't really have the tyres under him to attack with, because he's just got to hang on for as long as he can, because they're just going to keep wearing. That's
a very, very good point, in fairness. Yeah, it's something I wasn't actually thinking of. I just keep looking at the gaps, and I mentioned earlier that once you're outside of any kind of DRS, even though Chris has actually dropped a tenth or two and can't catch up to Xavier, who is in that clear air, as well, but without the DRS, and he's just not able to do it. It's just almost like the dirty air because of some of the high-speed corners here. You're just not able to catch up. There's not enough space to get, this part of Sector 1, it's a not very, well, it's just not a straight, is it? They're actually technically classed as corners, and you just don't get a slipstream. You don't have any heavy braking and traction zones at this point where you can really force the matter under brakes or just be a little bit more aggressive on the throttle to close the gap up. It's so flowing, and you're full speed and full throttle through most of it. It is just generally down to the downforce levels you have, and Xavier does look like he's got a tiny bit more downforce.
Oh, Doris has gone!
Whoa!
Doris has gone! And he's lost quite a significant part of his front wing as a result of that. I was on board with Armour at the time, so that gave me a bit of a fright. hence the yelling. But what a shame for Doris. And that has obviously helped out Armour Red quite significantly, because he's now on the back of the man who's leading Tier 2 in this race, C8, of course. But right on the edge of losing that DRS, he's really got to focus in here and hold on.
Yeah, this is. I know I'm trying to do some more quick maths, to be perfectly honest, to work out what what we need, or what Chris will need in the championship, what Armour also needs with this. So where have we gone? There it is. So Armour still needs to beat Lou, and Chris needs to finish as it stands. If this is how it works out, he'll need to finish at this moment where he is. Armour can still finish ahead of Chris, but Chris, it's not enough for Armour. So if C8 beats Armour, that's the championship. That Armour has to, as it stands, Armour has to pass C8. That's all Armour needs at the minute. And Chris is just needing to stay there. So at the moment, Chris is in the prime position.
So if Armour overtakes C8, is Chris still okay where he is?
By my maths, yes.
Okay.
So Armour needs to pass them both. Well, ideally, but then I think Armour needs Ant who's 7.5 seconds back, to come into play here and to potentially pass Chris. So Chris needs to finish 4th or higher with Armour if Armour beats C8.
Yeah. So as it stands, it is very much in Chris's favour, but there is still time for things to change. We could yet have something like another safety car, or a mistake that and we saw it from Chris in qualifying. That wing damage he got on his outlap in qualifying. I think that'll be keeping him honest here. That might be playing on his mind a little bit. He can't afford to have any moment of lapse in concentration.
Absolutely. And interestingly, you mentioned this a couple of laps ago about that 3-second gap that Jules had to save here. That gap has now come down by a second. So are those medium tyres starting to go away from them now?
Yeah, certainly seems to be the case for Jules in the clear air. I guess for Armour, he's still on the back of this group, so possibly getting pulled along by the DRS, because he's not really lost too much ground, and he's still, as a result of being in that group, well, the gap's maintaining to Ant at the moment. Ant's actually just set a best second sector. Red car has had a moment. We just had a yellow flag there, so red car, he's back on track, so there won't be any safety car or anything like that, but he's dropped quite a ways behind his teammate at this
he's
point.
7 seconds behind as well. Yep, you're right on that. I had a little panic moment as well, furiously cycling through to see what it was, but Chris has dropped quite a lot of time now to save. He just hasn't got the overall pace, but he is doing what he needs to do in terms of keeping Armour and C8 behind, and Saviour's just taking another big chunk out of Jules. I don't think those mediums are going to last another 10 laps. I think we're going to have those who chose the mediums. I think that you're going to have to pit again. The hards are by far the better tyres now.
Yeah, certainly looking that way. I think for the guys on the hards, they're actually setting some of their quickest sectors now, so they're improving. And then for Jules, they are definitely getting worse, just bit by bit. That gap now 1.4, and it'll soon be back in DRS range for Saviour, and then a little bit longer to Chris. But do you think Jules would pit at this point? I kind of get the feeling he's just going to try and last it out to the end of the race.
Yeah, it possibly is. I think you could be right with that one. You are right, because I'm not leading your call this evening. I'm able to sort of look now at these lap times, and it's interesting you brought them up about people's average lap time and what they're able to do at this moment. And you're right, there's a couple of tenths difference between Jules and Saviour. I mean, they are so consistent in their lap times, these two, throughout the middle part of this stint, and it's incredible to... Now I'm seeing the lap times in front of me. Within, what's that, 6, 7, 8 laps, the difference was 2 tenths for Saviour. That's it. That's the biggest gap difference. And not far off for Jules, but he is dropping a couple of tenths. He's having a lap where he's almost burnt overheated the tyres a little bit, and he drops 3 tenths and then pulls it back again on the next lap, and then it drops. So he's up and down a little bit. Chris seems to not have the pace. He's a couple of tenths off what Saviour's and Jules are able to do. Just doesn't maybe seem to have that overall at this moment in time. And of course, but he's still managing to keep Armour and C8 behind him, and they're still lapping quite a bit quicker than other people around them, which is very, very crucial for them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Antin P6, who on many occasions I've seen him. Oh, we've got Dan out of the race.
Safety car.
Oh, there we go.
No. Wow.
That was where Doris lost it earlier as well. But yeah, lap 28 out of 36. So we're going to have near enough a 5-lapper when we get back going again. But would you pit right now?
Hornet. Yeah, I think you have to. This is perfect for the medium tyre runners. It's not ideal for Doris. He was actually about nearly a second quicker a lap than everybody else ahead of him as this was coming into play. But to be fair, everyone in the pits, Oppie's put a set of mediums on, the others are putting soft tyres on, and they will do 5-6 laps. So this could be a soft... Oh my goodness me, like we don't need any more drama. It's got to be soft tyres, surely. It's not, it's mediums for Jules.
Let's see what Chris does. That looks like a soft tyre to me. It is.
It is.
Armour Red also on the softs, and Lou, yep. So Jules, interesting decision. I was about to say as well that the safety car massively saved his bacon there, because he was just watching his lead slowly dwindling away, but then he's gone for the medium compounder tyre, which I can't see anything other than he's just going to be coming under massive pressure from everyone behind him now.
I wonder if he's just used them too much in qualifying, and he started on them as well, I do believe. So, yeah, he did, he started on them. So I just think he hasn't got any brand new sets left where potentially those around will have those sets. I wonder if I can see that. So Jules has gone soft, medium, medium. Chris has actually had the free set of soft tyres because this is his first set he's used. He started on the medium tyres. That early safety car forced him to pit. So I think Chris did do a lap on the mediums as well anyway in qualifying. Yes, he did. He did his first lap on mediums. So he will have had, I'd imagine, a free set of new soft tyres at his disposal. So Oh, this is hedge your bets now, folks. Put, put your bets in. This is going to be incredible.
Yeah, but and once again, because pretty much everyone is pitted, the order hasn't really changed. Certainly not in terms of the front uh, 7 or 8 drivers. Crucially, Chris still in P3, Armored in P5, but second place of the Tier 2 drivers. But obviously now with the pack a lot closer together, things could change very quickly. This is not the time to make a mistake if you're in a championship battle. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get back to green flag racing again. We're probably, well, we've got an Aston and a Haas just coming around the final corner. Quite a ways off the snake at the moment, but they might catch up by the end of the lap, so we could be going again on lap 31.
Yeah, I think it'll be they're not far away now. Simba's trying to give us the connotations of countback, but because it's different tiers, a bit like how MRCX sort of is, it's confusing a bit with Chris being 5th or low, and I'm trying to work out if that's 5th in overall or 5th in tier. So I'm a little bit confused, but as you say there, as we can see, Jules on the medium tyres. If Xavier and Chris can make something happen early, before those mediums come fully up to temperature, that again could be a massive, massive swing in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely could. And I mean, I hate to say this. I'm just having flashing images in my head of like if Jules and Xavier come together and Chris somehow gets collected in that or something. It would be horrible, horrible to see. I mean, I'm laughing, but I can't help but have that thought. But anyway,
it is one of those, isn't it? This is probably at this moment in time, probably Chris's worst nightmare. I would imagine he would have been managing everything really well, but here we go again.
Yeah, and the pack once again being backed up by Jules. You can see everyone in shot, and now Jules has gone at the head of the pack. It's going to be green flag as they cross the line for the start of lap 31. 6 laps remaining in Xtreme tier, 6 laps remaining on F124 in MRC. There's a championship on the line, and we've just got to see now what unfolds in front of us with everything to play for. Armour Red has to be aggressive now, surely, behind Lou in the RB. He's the one who's got to try and make something happen here if he wants to have a shot at getting this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. This, I mean, Jules went very early there, went before turn 15. So, yeah, he was ready. He didn't want to slow up anymore, back the pack up, get Xavier and Chris any closer to the rear wing of his car than needs be. But Xavier, that middle sector, he has been strong all race long and once again has closed that gap. And it is 5th of the team. I thought it was. Thank you, Simba. So, in fairness, Chris would... Yeah, it's quite a waste. He's got 3 seconds. That's sort of giving it to Armour.
Yeah, that's... Well, Armour doesn't need to do anything then, really. He could just sit behind Lou, and we've got a couple of penalties now coming in. We've also got Doris moving up, Baby Hornet as well, past Rambo. Chris with the fastest lap on lap 31. So I don't know where he's found that pace from all of a sudden. But him and Xavier are close up behind Jules, as we expected. Chris is still on course for the title. Red car, I think, has gone round again, has he?
He's lost half a wing, so I don't know what happened where he got his 3 seconds. Yeah, he's got half a front wing. I think he went straight on turn 2, locked up, I think, and that's where it's caused the damage. That was the yellow flag, but he's still going.
Yeah, so still 12 runners in the closing stages here. I almost don't know who to follow at this point. It's probably Chris. Chris is the man really who he's got it in his hands as it stands, but he's just going to be so mindful of these two in front of him. Not that they're in any way bad drivers or anything. It's just that if they do start battling, There's all sorts of things that could happen, and with DRS now available, let's see what happens.
Absolutely, you're right there, and this is just heart in your mouth. Every braking zone for Chris, and everything and things there. Save you a little bit wide before the banking, and this is just so Chris just needs to sit there. All Chris needs to do is sit there. He doesn't need anything to do anything. But Armour is the one. Ryan's in the pits. Yep, he's called it a day there. Had a lot of damage. So his race is run. But this is incredibly tight now.
Yeah, and Saviour is right under the rear wing and the gearbox of Jules in that McLaren. Jules has held off fairly well so far, hasn't had to get too defensive anywhere. And the other thing about this, of course, is that the question is how long are the softs going to be the superior tyre? Will they still be the quicker tyre by the time we get to lap 36? In which case, for Saviour, obviously battling for a win, he might have to make this move now. And I
think he's going to.
Yep, going for the outside line into turn one. Oh, and there was a bit of contact, I think. I think Jules maybe broke a little bit late, but it doesn't look like there's been any damage from that. And it was fairly straightforward in the end for Saviour.
Yeah, I was on board with Jules, but unfortunately I was looking backwards to Chris to see what had happened. So I missed it, unfortunately, if there was any contact. But yeah, Chris now needs to keep within that again. As he did before, he needs to keep within the DRS. Vital for him at this point.
Yeah, that's
but Armour
very true.
Armour's just unfortunately can't do anything about C8. And going back, as you mentioned, to this battle with Saviour needing to make that move to get the win, because there is still a race for a win here that we seem to sort of forget about a little bit. That he is very quick in that middle sector. Jules is quick in a straight line. Saviour has a bit more wing, definitely really a wing, than Jules does, so that's going to be interesting to see how that'll play out with the DRS. Now Jules is actually following Saviour for the next 2 laps. Just to add something else into the mix, as Ant's on the inside of Armour. There was nearly contact, I think, and got over the curb, and that's Baby Horn at the background, just held it.
Oh, this is not what Armour needs at this point. And you said earlier that Ant and Chris are good mates, so Ant doing his bit here for his buddy to try and get him over the line as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but lap 35 out of 36, Chris has got, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 miles between him and his first MRC title. And remember, this is the 16th season. Who is that has gone off? I think
Baby
that's Chris's teammate.
Ferrari. It is. Yeah, it is. He's missing an end plate. Just the tyres. He put the soft tyres on, and he just happened to pit as the safety car came out. He managed to pit straight away. Yeah, he's got damage there, so it's difficult now for Simon for this last 2 laps. I'd expect to see him in the pits as well.
Here we go, on to the final lap of the race, the final lap of the season. Is Jules going to try and go all the way around the outside? Oh, into turn 1 and turn 2. Saviour once again defending well. But Jules again looking at the long way round on the outside of the banked corner there. But he can't do it. And that might be his last opportunity. There is another DRS straight coming up, but it's not a very long one. I don't think we've seen any overtakes into that chicane today.
I'm still going to go with what we saw in Tier 2 with C8, with Dries, and if you are close enough, if you get the drive round the banking, have enough battery left, you can still make the move before the line comes. The line is quite a way down the start-finish straight. I don't think it's fully over yet, because Chris is there as well now.
Oh, you could just see that
Chris
did not want to be involved in that at all, but he has only got 1 corner to go. Chris Bailey, he has waited so long for this moment, a championship winning moment, and he takes it. P3 in the Dutch Grand Prix, and he is the Extreme Tier champion. of MRC, and wow, what a moment for him. After all the years of trying and all the heartbreak, it comes off at the end of F1 24. Huge congratulations to Chris. And Armar, I think, would have finished P4 with the penalty to Lou, so he did pretty much everything he could there. Gets first place in his tier, and he's obviously had a fantastic season. He can be very proud of what he's done. I think that means that Chris has actually won the championship by 1 point, which is crazy in itself. But obviously, congrats to Xavier as well on getting the win. But yeah, there you go. Chris Bailey, MRC champion at long last.
And you've got to hold your hat, hold your head up high to Armour. Took that right down to the wire. C8 was just a monster, which we said in qualifying how quick he is around here. That 3-second penalty sort of ruined his of winning the Tier 2 race there. But yeah, Armour, absolutely incredible season for you. And I'm sure he's going to be upset with that. I know he's a very gracious man. He is a very respectful man, and many conversations and things that we have with admin with him, and he's just a really lovely guy. And I know for a fact he'll be upset, but he'll have all the respect for Chris in this one as well. And he's definitely hold his head up high, and he's definitely going to be scary next season. That's for sure.
He absolutely is. Driver of the day, Mark. Who would you go with?
Difficult one. I think there was so much close racing. We had Jules and Xavier battling away. Chris just sort of sitting there, but had a good opening stint to get himself into that position. Held off with Armour, C8, Derice in there as well. All of those at the top there, I think, deserve a big mention. I definitely can't pick between them, to be perfectly honest. I really can't. Yeah, a tough one. A really tough one to pick one, and you just got to say hats off to all of them for the fair driving and the respectful driving that they all had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree that it would be hard to choose out of that race to pick one person out. There was a lot of great driving in there, but we do have with us in the party now the MRC Extreme Tier champion, Chris Bailey. How good does that sound, my friend?
It's not bad, eh? Never the bridesmaid. No, never the bride, always the bridesmaid, apparently. But no, finally.
Oh, what a race, mate. Well done.
I've had 8 runner-ups, a third, 3 fourths, and a fifth before tonight. So, in championships. So finally, that's nice. Let's go.
Yeah, you sound a bit. You sound exhausted. You sound as though you. We've mentioned it through Neville and I both mentioned it a few times that you must have been. Your senses must have been on edge the whole race long, wheel to wheel, nose to tail, with so many of them. That was incredible to watch, and your nerves must have been absolutely shot at this moment in time.
Every time, because C8 is a quick guy, and Armar's a quick guy, Doris is a quick guy, Xavier and Jules, every time any one of them made any move around each other that wasn't just the racing line, I was just like, oh no, where are they going? Preparing for the worst straight away.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit where they started to battle, and I think we mentioned it that I think it was Derice in the early stages, the rear, he was getting very
all over the
sliding.
place at the start. He was sliding, he was pushing.
Yeah, he was pushing on and hurt the rear tyres, and we were saying that's not what you would have needed. Neville said it, that's exactly what you just said there, where just nerves right on the edge.
Yeah, it was really scary. Obviously, he's pushing to fight Xavier most of the race, and Jules, and obviously C8, so he's fighting for a position for a win for himself, so it's fair game, but from my point of view, I was just like, bro, please don't do this.
Well, you've finally joined the winner's circle, the champions leaderboard now, and epic season from you, incredible season from Armour as well, and on to the next one.
Yeah, onwards and upwards, and to be fair to Armour, Steve's been a great he's a great guy. He's been great the whole time in MRC since he's joined about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. He joined a year and a half ago, I think it was. And obviously he's a champion in his own right already. Fighting for another title, it was a privilege to go up against him. Obviously Saviour, Bobo, Jules, and as well, just to name a few, who regularly are up there as well. So it's been a good group to race against, and yeah.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned Bobo there, because I've been in the comms for a few Xtreme races this year, and you and him has some really good close battles at times. But a shame that he couldn't be here tonight. But Chris, what do you think? I mean, you've as you said, you've had all the runner-up positions.
8 of them.
Yeah. What do you think has been the difference this time? What do you think it is that's got you over the line on this occasion?
In the past, I've had some bad luck. In the past, I've made some bad decision making, and this season I've made better decisions. But I've also got a bit lucky, and there's not much more to it. The absence of Rigoni this season compared to previous seasons has been a help as well. Saviour's had a lot of bad luck this season, which is a shame because he's extremely fast. Obviously, you saw tonight, he's stupidly quick, great pace, that Crawley lap in particular. So, yeah, in this case, being lucky, and there's been times where, for example, tonight, obviously not going for moves on people because playing the percentages, sometimes that's the smart thing to do. So, whereas in previous seasons, I would be like, okay, let's send it, let's go. But then in some races this season, I kind of had to go a bit aggressive. So it's picking your moments, I guess.
Yeah, and that was something we talked about on stream tonight. Is in these situations of championship battles, yeah, picking your moments, and just all the permutations and all the nerves that go with a battle such as this. But just having a look in the Discord, there's a lot of comments from people that are very happy for you. We had a few comments in the chat on the stream as well of people supporting you. I think there's quite a lot of people in the MRC community that are very happy to see you finally get across that line. So and I think that goes for Mark and myself too. So huge congratulations from all of us.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, mate. Well deserved. Congratulations. Go and have a sit down and
I'm gonna crack open a rum just for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy, my friend. Well done, and we look forward to seeing you on track in a couple of weeks' time for F125.
Indeed. Have a good evening, boys.
Cheers, Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much. Well, what a nice way to round it off. I think that is the end of season 16 of MRC, the end of F124 on MRC, as we mentioned before. And yeah, you mentioned F125 there as well, Mark. That's a couple of weeks away. And I don't know if you want to give us a bit of a preview of how things are going to look with the release of the new game and the new season.
Yeah, so I am currently working on the new calendar for the next season. Not exactly entirely sure of how I'll go about it yet, but I will have maybe something like the champions to pick their favourite circuit to include in next season that we go to. May follow a little bit more of the real life F1 as well. It will come to us because the game releases right at the end of this month, about the 30th of the month. I think we're looking at going racing about the second week of June. Have of course a race first with everybody in MRC, maybe a couple of races, so people can actually get on track with the new game, and rather than throwing everybody straight in at the deep end. We are also talking about changing the tiers slightly as well. Maybe changing how Xtreme operates, maybe even introducing back to a 4-tier system with more assists, enabling more drivers to come and join us and race in MRC. So there's a lot of talk happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. More will be given out on our social media channels on Facebook, possibly on our Instagram, and also obviously through YouTube and the Discord as well. So there's a lot about to happen in the next week or two. So yeah, it's going to be exciting times. F1 25, a lot of good things coming, I think, and a lot of positives coming from MRC as well. So just expect a huge amount of racing. Potential change of days as well for maybe another tier, but that's still in the pipeline and still preliminary talks as well for that one.
Yeah, there you have it, folks. If that sounds good to you and you're not currently a member of MRC, then, well, subscribe to the YouTube channel as a very first point of call. But also, yeah, feel free to get in touch, join the Discord, get involved with the league ahead of the new game and the new season. We'll be very happy to have you. But that is it for tonight, and yeah, it for a couple of weeks at least as well. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching tonight and watching throughout the season. And Mark, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, of course. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you very soon for F1 25. But until then, take care.
Good night.